विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद अवय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन महाराज की जय। व्रजभूमि वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारकापुरी धाम की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवद्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter number 7, entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. Text 31. Please repeat. पाषण्डपथ वैषम्यं प्रतिलोम निवेशनं जीवस्य गतयो यश्च यावतीर्गुणकर्मजाः। पाषण्डपथ वैषम्यं प्रतिलोमनिवेशनं जीवस्य गतयो याश्च यावतीर्गुणकर्मजाः। पाषण्डपथवैषम्यं 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 प्रतिलोमनिवेशनं जीवस्य गतयो यस्य तीर्गुणकर्मजाः। पाषण्डपथवैषम्यं प्रतिलोमनिवेशनं जीवस्य गतयो याश्च यावतीर्गुणकर्मजा प्रतिलोमनिवेशनम् यावतीर्गुणकर्मजा माताजी आषण्डपथवैषम्यम् जीवस्य गतयो यश्च गुणकर्मजा Pashandapatha, the path of the faithless. Vaishamyam, imperfection, by contradiction. Pratiloma, crossbreeding. Niveshanam, situation. Jivasya, of the living entities. Gatayaha, movements. Yaha, as they are. Cha, also. Yavatihi, as many as. Guna, modes of material nature. Karmajaha, generated by different work. Translation and purport by Abhay Charnaravind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The translation. Please also describe the imperfections and contradictions of the faithless atheists, the situation of crossbreeding, and the movements of the living entities in various species of life according to their particular modes of nature and work. The purport. The combination of living entities in different modes of material nature is called crossbreeding. The faithless atheists do not believe in the existence of God, and thus their paths of philosophy are contradictory. Atheistic philosophies never agree with one another. Different species of life are evidence of varieties of mixtures of the modes of material nature. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा पाषंडपथ वैषम्यं प्रतिलोम निवेशनम जीवस्य गतयो याश्च यावतीर्गुणकर्मजाः. Please also describe the imperfections and contradictions of the faithless atheists, the situation of crossbreeding, and the movements of the living entities in various species of life according to their particular modes of nature and work. So bowing down to all the assembled Vaishnavas, especially our leader Savas Prabhu, our Archita Prabhu and all the senior Vaishnavas Maharaj, we can understand from this particular verse that now we are going deeper into the Sankhya philosophy, which is the basic platform for the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Later in the canto, we will see how Kapila Dev, he will appear and he will describe in detail how Sankhya is, the philosophy is organized. He is the one who gives the real Sankhya philosophy. Srila Prabhupada very nicely describes that Sankhya philosophy has no meaning unless it is connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meaning, Sankhya philosophy basically describes all the material elements. It describes the 24 different material elements, the most basic elements, and from which, and the combination of whose, creates further elements of the material nature. And then how those subtle elements combine into grosser elements, and how those grosser elements ultimately combine and they make into different senses, sense objects, how the pleasure is created, what is the meaning of material pleasure, and how it is attached to the senses. So all these minute details have been described in the Sankhya philosophy. It is like somebody is describing a tree, a huge gigantic tree of material world. It is being described by some great sage. The sage is describing every particular detail of the tree, how the tree is made, what type of wood it is, what type of leaves are there, what are the different types of branches of the tree, what are the different flowers, and then how the flowers become the fruits, what is the taste of the fruit, and what is the pleasure that one derives from those fruits. It's the material tree, which is being described by Kapil Dev very perfectly in this canto. But Srila Prabhupada describes knowing the tree is not enough. Knowing the material world in its minute particles, the tiniest details of the material world, is not enough. Just like you know the tree, you know the fruit, you know how it works, how the things are happening. It's not enough until you know that there is a root that is under the soil. The root is not visible. So somebody may conclude that this tree does not have a root. So that root is like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the material world is not independently acting. So unless and until one hears Sankhya philosophy from the mouth of a Vaishnava, one will not understand the root. So the Sankhya has no meaning unless and until the material world, the Sankhya philosophy is connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Srila Prabhupada does not just give the information of the root in the form of the Supreme Personality. Srila Prabhupada also tells, he goes further one step and he tells how to satisfy that root. How that root can be nourished. What can be given to the root. So an expert teacher will tell you not just how the root, how the tree is existent, how it is standing, how it gets the strength, and about the root, but the expert teacher will also tell you and remind you to water the root. And that is called Bhakti Yoga. So Srila Prabhupada translates Bhakti Yoga as devotional service. So the service is like watering that root of the material tree. So that is Srila Prabhupada's beautiful explanations that we are going to see further in this canto, third canto, which basically also describes about the sthanam, the particular positions in which the living entities have been situated in life. So the combination of living entities in different modes of material nature is called crossbreeding. So based on the different modes of material nature, there are different living entities, those which are situated in those particular modes of material nature. So somebody may say that I do not believe in the root. I just want to believe in the tree of the material world and I want to only enjoy the tree, but I don't want to think about the root. So these people are called the faithless atheists, do not believe in the existence of God, and thus their paths of philosophy are contradictory. Suppose somebody completely denies the existence of the president, then what will happen is there will be chaos because there is no leader. So everybody will try to do their own thing. And then there will be a lot of chaos in the society. So similarly, there is this atheistic people, they say that the world came automatically. Everything, like there was a big bang and the world came into existence and everything is happening automatically. There is order in the system, but it's all happening automatically. If you ask some atheists, they say that yes, there is different order in the seasons. After summer comes fall, then winter, and again there will be spring, and then the summer. The sun rises at a particular time, and then there will be the day the sun gets hotter, and then the sun will set. The moon will come, it will be soothing, and the night will come. And combination of such day and night makes into the month, and such combination of months turns into years, and this is how the time is passing. Everything is automatic. You feed grass to a cow, the cow will give milk. Automatic. There is nothing to worry. Everything is automatic. So such a person, if you ask that if you feed the same grass to a bull, is bull going to give the milk? No, then they say, no. Only how bull can give the milk? Only cow can give the milk, automatic. That is the system, automatic. It's created in that fashion. So created, that means somebody has created. That means you have to acknowledge that somebody is behind this mechanism. Somebody created the cow in that fashion. Somebody has created men in the fashion they are. Somebody has created women in that fashion. So when you completely deny the existence of God, then the atheistic philosophies, they are contradictory and they are not complete. For example, there was a famous atheistic person whose name was Friedrich Nietzsche. He said that God created the world in 6 days, and then he got so tired that he died. So the Nietzsche's famous philosophy is God is dead. That means he created everything, but it was too much of work. So many planets he had to do. He had to perform, so many things, so many actions in order to set up everything, and it was too much. God is dead. He even put a big sign outside his house. God is dead. Undersigned Nietzsche. And this poor fellow, after a few years, he met with an accident and he died. So the people who were faithful, they came and they wrote on his tomb that God is not dead. Nietzsche is dead, undersigned God. They wrote like that. So these philosophies, they do not have any basis. The philosophies are basically, some atheistic people, they have already concluded that God does not exist. That is the conclusion. And just to support that, they produce so many theories by speculation. Their conclusion is already there. God does not exist. And then they produce the God particle theory. That's the latest buzzword. Or the Big Bang theory. And there are so many theories which are already, they have taken for a fact that God does not exist. And then they build their castles around that conclusion. So there was one professor in a school. He was atheistic. He asked his students that, have you seen God with your own eyes? The students said, no, we have not seen God. Have you touched God? The students said, no, dear sir, we have not touched God ever. Have you smelled God? They said, no, we don't have that experience. Have you heard anything that God has said personally? Then the student said, no, we have not. Therefore, by the logic, by the principle of direct perception, I declare God does not exist. That is the conclusion. So one student, must be one ISKCON devotee, he raised his hand and he said, sir, I have a question for you and I have a question for the entire class. This professor said, okay, speak up. He said, my dear fellow students, has anyone seen the brain of the professor? And everybody said, we have never seen the brain of the professor. Has anybody touched it? Has anybody smelled it? Has anybody have any feelings? Has anybody has any direct perception of it? Students said, no, we have never. Therefore, we conclude that the professor's brain does not exist. And the professor was taken aback. He was in shock. Srila Prabhupada also went through such, small pastime. When Srila Prabhupada was studying in Scottish Church College, there was one law teacher who was British, and he was teaching the students, and in that class, he started abusing the Hindu literatures, and he started saying that you foolish Hindus, you think that God exists, you say there is law of karma, who has seen God? And how do you say that somebody who has done some past misdeed, somebody has done some sinful act, in the past life, you foolishly say that you get the reaction or the punishment in this life. That makes no sense, because the preliminary principle of the law says that a person cannot be punished unless there is a witness to testify that the sin has happened. So suppose I have committed a sin in my past life, somewhere in the past, long, long ago. And today, if somebody is giving me punishment, I am going to ask, who is the witness to testify? And Srila Prabhupada, as a student, Abhay Charan, he was listening to all this crap for a long time. And then Srila Prabhupada, he raised his hand and he said, let me give you the answer. So the British professor, he said, okay, speak up. He said, this is Prabhupada's answer at that time, even before he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada said that, dear sir, you are trying to talk like a big intellectual, and you are saying and trying to find faults in the literatures, our scriptures, but our most basic scripture, Bhagavad Gita, talks about the witness. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishta. So Krishna is describing in Bhagavad Gita that God is sitting in the heart of each and every living entity. So there is a witness, that God is the witness who is traveling with the living entity, the Paramatma. He has seen every action, every small or big, every tiny deed of the living entity is being watched, is being witnessed by God Himself. And that person himself is also the judge. And he is the one who gives the punishment. So there is a witness. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada describes how the atheistic philosophies are contradictory. There are many emotional atheists also. Emotional atheists are like, something bad has happened with them. Their wife ran away with someone, or something bad happens, and then they say, God does not exist. Because if there was God, why would He do that to me? There was a famous writer, Kushner. Kushner, he wrote a book called Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And in that he says, and he defies the Bible. The Bible says, God is all-powerful, all-merciful, and all-knowing. But then he says that God cannot be displaying all these three qualities. Because what happened is the son of this writer, he had progeria. And there was tragic story that he started aging faster because of that disease. And at the age of 12, he became as if he was 112. So he became old, they grow fast. And then he died. So because of this, he said that God cannot display these three qualities. God cannot be omniscient, all powerful and all merciful at the same time. He can display only two qualities. He can be all powerful, all merciful, but he's not all knowing. Or if you say that he's all knowing and all powerful, then he's not all merciful. Otherwise, why he's doing these things, to good people? So if we go deeper into the philosophy, we understand that it's not God who is doing all these things. Prakrute kriyamanani, gunai karmani sarvasham. Srila Prabhupada also describes in the previous purports that how the living entity itself is creating all these situations for herself. The living entity is cooking a preparation for itself, and then that's what we have to eat. So all the different varieties of situations that come upon us is just our own creation. We have created with our own karma. God is actually all merciful, who wants to help the living entity come out of this situation. It's just like sometimes, in the house, a little daughter, a girl child, little girl, she wants to play a game, like, a fake kitchen. She wants to set up her own kitchen. She wants to have a tiny plastic stove. She wants to have a little, different plastic utensils, and she wants to do that game. And then the mother says that I'm there to cook for you. Why do you want to do all this? But sometimes the children like to play in that fashion. They build their own small house. They have their own small Hot Wheel cars, and they park in their small tiny house. And then they start to imagine. One becomes husband, one becomes the wife, then some become children, and then they go on playing. So in the play, the husband asks, "So what did you cook today?" Then this one child says that, "Oh, I made nice spaghetti and paneer sabji. I have made this. So let's eat." So they take fake plates, and then they pretend as if the wife is serving, and then one person is trying to eat, and then they say, such a nice, wonderful dinner today. Thank you so much." So the mother is watching all this game happening, and the mother is thinking that, okay, the children are playing. The mother is silently watching until the evening time. And at the evening time, the children actually became hungry, because this so-called fake food cannot satisfy the hunger. So all the children came running to the mother, saying that we're very hungry. What is there for the dinner? So the mother says, actually you guys cooked, you ate. So then children started crying, and then they're like, no, we depend on you. We depend on you for the real satisfaction, the real food, the real nourishment, and the real satisfaction only comes because of you and your food. So in this world, we are all trying to play that game like these children. Somebody becomes, takes a post, somebody becomes a husband, somebody becomes a wife, then there are children. There is a boss in the office, there are so many people, around us. And we think that this is it, this is the life. And we're playing this so-called game of life, but somehow we're not satisfied. And then bahunam janmanamante, jnanavan mam prapadyante, vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births playing this game for many lifetimes, one living entity understands that actually this so-called game is not satisfying my real hunger. The real hunger is the hunger for love. And that love is given by only Krishna. Only Krishna can satisfy our tendency of love. So that's why only by that love can we really get the real nourishment. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, he talks about how the atheistic people or even the materialistic people, they can never be happy because the real nourishment ultimately come from the service to Krishna, service to God. The different species of life are evidence of varieties of mixture of the modes of material nature. So this is the last line that Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport. There are different species, and that's the evidence of varieties of mixture of modes of material nature. So there is animal platform where there are no rules, no regulations, like a pig. The pig lives the way he wants. He lives in the dirt and he eats dirty things, and he lives and he thinks he is so happy. Actually, Srila Prabhupada says that the pigs are really happy. That's why he is fat. Srila Prabhupada says that the pig is fat, that means he is happy. But that's a very third class, low class happiness, happiness in the ignorance. There was one time in our village in the year 2002, there was one ISKCON temple was opening. And it's a very small village, so there was not many facilities. So there was just like if somebody has to respond to nature's call, they have to go in the bushes in the year 2002. And a lot of people came. We didn't expect that many people. A lot of foreigners came. And then in the morning time, the foreigners came and they were telling the villagers that in your village, the pigs are so loving. They are so welcoming and they are so jolly. All the time they follow us, especially in the morning time. So we had to tell them that actually they are not after you. Don't worry. They are looking for their own enjoyment. So Srila Prabhupada describes the different species of life. They are arranged according to how they are situated in that particular mode. So Srila Prabhupada describes one can transgress the mode of animalistic behavior and come to the human platform by giving up illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and mediating. Dyutam panam striya suna yatra adharmas chaturvida. These are the four things that make us animalistic. So Srila Prabhupada, that's why stressed on the following of the four regulative principles. When you follow these four regulative principles, then only one can say that I am a human being. So Srila Prabhupada gives these four regulative principles for that matter. And when somebody comes on the human platform, then only he can understand further. Then he can inquire from a bona fide spiritual master and then understand the higher reality of the spiritual life. Then only he can understand about who is God, who am I, and what is my relationship with God. So Srila Prabhupada, in these beautiful purports, has given us all the knowledge, from the animalistic life until the human life and even beyond to the Vaishnava life. Srila Prabhupada has given the knowledge for each and every class of persons situated in any type of mode of material nature. By just reading Prabhupada's books, we can easily elevate ourselves to the higher platform. And ultimately we can reach to the highest platform of devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Anybody has any question? Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.